Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling office dynamics, but
Ooh,
through a really interesting lens.
I love it already.
Yeah, an English language learning podcast.
Okay.
I know it sounds a little strange, but trust me, we can learn a lot from these kinds of unusual sources.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Me too. So to set the scene, this podcast features two managers, Jeff and Lauren,
Okay.
and they're discussing an employee named Jason.
hmm
Jeff has some concerns about Jason's performance, but here's the twist. Jason's actually Lauren's cousin.
Oh, so we've got some family dynamics in the workplace.
Exactly.
Okay.
That always makes things interesting.
It always
But
does.
let's dive into some of the key vocabulary words that they use to describe Jason in this whole situation.
Okay.
One of the first phrases that pops up is this idea of being a good fit. Jeff doesn't think Jason is a good fit for the company.
Right.
What do you make of that whole concept?
Well, when we talk about a good fit in a professional setting, it's a lot more than just your skills or your experience.
Right.
It's really about, how well you align with the company culture, your team, the personalities even.
Right.
You could be incredibly talented, but still not be a good fit for a specific company or a specific team.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of another word that comes up a lot, which is performance.
Right.
Seems straightforward, but I'm guessing there's more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Performance goes beyond just like hitting your targets and meeting your deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
It also encompasses things like your attitude, your reliability, your work ethic, all of those less tangible qualities
Right.
that really make or break a team.
So true. And Jeff specifically points to Jason's unreliability.
Yeah, okay.
He even gives a concrete example. He was 45 minutes late for a meeting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 45 minutes.
That's definitely a red flag for sure.
And what's interesting is that Jeff kind of highlights this inconsistency with Jason.
Right.
Sometimes he's productive, sometimes he's not.
Mhm.
And as a manager, that unpredictability can be a real challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know what you're going to get.
Exactly. And it doesn't end there.
Hmm.
Jeff also brings up Jason's work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
He describes him as being on MSN and Facebook instead of actually working.
Oh, boy.
What's your take on that?
Well, this speaks to the difference between presenteeism and engagement.
Okay.
Just because you're physically present at your desk doesn't mean you're actually, actively working.
Right. So just showing up isn't enough.
It's not enough.
Got to be engaged.
You gotta be engaged.
So I also noticed that Jeff uses some pretty specific language when he talks about Jason.
Okay.
He says things like bottom line and overall performance.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think those phrases reveal anything about his management style?
Absolutely. It suggests that he's got a very direct and results-oriented communication style.
Okay.
He's focused on those measurable outcomes.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which is understandable from a managerial standpoint,
Yeah.
but it doesn't seem like he's really trying to understand the reasons behind Jason's struggles, at least not yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about Lauren's reaction to all of this.
Okay.
Predictably, she jumps to her cousin's defense.
Right.
And even suggests that Jeff should be coaching Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's potential for bias creeping in here?
It's possible.
Right.
It's natural to want to protect a family member,
Of course.
but, this situation could be clouded by some unconscious bias.
Right.
Is she really being objective about Jason's performance?
Yeah.
Is she open to the possibility that maybe Jeff has some legitimate concerns?
It's tough when family's involved.
It's hard.
Now, there's also this phrase that Lauren keeps using, perfectly good reason.
Yeah.
Like, she's sure Jason had a perfectly good reason for being 45 minutes late.
Okay.
To me, that sounds like making excuses.
It definitely raises an eyebrow.
Yeah.
It's hard to judge without knowing, the specific context,
True.
but it could suggest that she's, maybe downplaying or rationalizing his behavior a bit.
Okay. Are you ready for the final twist?
I'm all ears.
The podcast reveals that Jason is a bad apple.
Oh, wow, they went there.
Yeah.
That label goes beyond just being like a subpar employee.
Right.
It implies that his behavior is actually detrimental to the team,
Yeah.
potentially toxic even to the company culture.
So this English lesson has suddenly become a case study in dealing with these potentially really difficult workplace dynamics.
It really has.
It's fascinating, right?
It is. It's fascinating how this English lesson has given us all these concrete examples
Right.
of these workplace challenges. We've got the vocabulary, good fit performance, unreliable,
Mm-hmm.
all illustrated through these real behaviors.
Yeah.
It's a case study.
It is.
Yeah.
And the fact that it comes from this like unexpected source,
Right.
this language learning podcast, makes it even more engaging. But let's get back to this whole situation at hand.
Okay.
We left off with the revelation that Jason is a bad apple.
We did.
The podcast doesn't actually go into the specifics of his behavior,
Right.
which kind of leaves us with a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it does. What kind of behavior
Right.
could actually warrant that label?
Right. Is it like a pattern of behavior or just isolated incidents?
Right.
What do you think?
I mean, we can speculate a little bit here.
Yeah, let's brainstorm.
Okay.
Could he be like engaging in negative gossip and creating a toxic atmosphere?
Yeah.
Or maybe he's actively sabotaging his colleagues' work,
Sure.
like hindering their progress.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's just incompetent,
Okay.
unable to meet the demands of the job
Right.
despite his best efforts.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle. Incompetence isn't always about laziness or bad intentions.
Right.
It could be from lack of training,
For sure.
maybe a misunderstanding of the role,
Absolutely.
or just like a mismatch of skills. So how should a manager approach a situation like that?
Well, addressing incompetence
Yeah.
requires a very delicate balance. You
Right.
want to provide support and guidance without, lowering the bar for everyone else. It's crucial to shift the focus from blame and punishment to, development and improvement.
Okay, so how would that look in Jason's case?
Yeah.
What concrete steps could Jeff and Lauren take?
I mean, firstly, they need to have an open and honest conversation with him about his performance.
Yeah.
Provide specific examples of where he's falling short
Okay.
and clearly outline the expectations for improvement.
This brings us back to that idea of coaching that Lauren mentioned.
Exactly.
It's not just about pointing out mistakes.
Right.
It's about equipping him with the tools and the support he needs to actually succeed.
Yes.
What would that entail?
Well, it might involve offering additional training opportunities, maybe pairing him with a mentor,
Okay.
or even just implementing regular check-ins
Right.
to kind of monitor his progress and provide constructive feedback.
Got it.
The key is to tailor the approach to his individual needs and the specific areas where he's struggling.
But what if, despite their best efforts, he doesn't improve? What if he's just not suited for this particular role?
Yeah.
How do you address that?
That's a tough but crucial conversation to
Okay.
have. It needs to be approached with empathy and professionalism,
Right.
focusing on finding a solution that benefits, both Jason and the company.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the kindest thing you can do
Yeah.
is help someone find a role that's better aligned with their skills and interests.
It's a reminder that good fit goes both ways.
It does.
A job might be a poor fit for someone, even if they're a good person
Absolutely.
and a hard worker.
Absolutely.
It's interesting how this whole deep dive has challenged our initial assumptions about Jason.
It has.
We started by thinking of him as a bad apple,
Right.
but now we're considering all these other possibilities,
Right.
like maybe he's just struggling in over his head or just needs more support.
Yeah. It's the beauty of exploring these scenarios in depth.
Yeah.
It encourages us to look beyond, those surface level judgments
Hmm.
and consider all the complexities of human behavior in the workplace.
And it highlights the importance of approaching these situations with empathy
Yes.
and a willingness to really understand
Absolutely.
the underlying issues.
Yeah.
So what are some other takeaways for our listener as we navigate these choppy waters of office dynamics?
I think it's crucial to remember that everyone has a story.
Oh, that's good.
The behaviors we perceive as negative might actually be signs of deeper struggles.
Right.
Maybe a cry for help or just a mismatch of expectations.
Yeah, that's powerful. It reminds me of the importance of open communication and active listening in the workplace.
Absolutely.
We need to create an environment where people feel comfortable expressing their concerns and seeking support.
I couldn't agree more. Building that culture of trust and mutual respect
Yeah.
can go a long way in preventing these situations from, escalating into these major conflicts.
Right.
It allows for early intervention and proactive problem solving,
Yeah.
which benefits everyone involved.
These are valuable insights, especially as we kind of delve deeper into this concept of performance
Yes.
and its multifaceted nature. We touched upon the impact of individual actions on team dynamics, but what about the role of leadership
Right.
in shaping performance?
Yeah.
What qualities should we be looking for in those who manage and guide others?
That's a great question and one that deserves a deep dive.